Okay, so a couple people are watching. We're going to get started, and I'm going to make a little bit of time at the end for questions. So just as a reminder, today we're covering the ultimate flip formula. This is going to tell you not only how to think as an investor, but actually what tools you should be using. Okay, so I'm going to flip the camera around, get it set up, and get started. Okay, guys, so again, this is the ultimate flip formula. And so why do you need this formula, right? The number one thing I want to impart on you guys is taking a systemic approach to investing, right? What means we use data as well as tried and true methods to achieve our goals. In flipping and in life, no matter what you're investing in or really what you're doing in business, you should be using systems, right? This lets us learn from the past, reduce mistakes, that reduces our risk, that keeps your money safe. It also lets you make more money. So in the stock market, for instance, they have something called the Sharpe ratio. It's a measure of how much money you could potentially make versus how much risk you're taking. We want to take the minimum amount of risk possible for the maximum amount of return. Does that make sense? So using tools like this will allow us to do that. And this is one of the biggest tools in this investment, in this asset class that we ought to be using, right? And so we need to understand this formula in order to be profitable and also to be safe, protect ourselves, and make money in the process. And so we want to learn the mental models and frameworks of thinking that decision makers and investors use, right? So every investor has a system for evaluating investments, right? Creating systems ensures the efficiency, right? It ensures efficiency, but also in your process, it makes it more modular, meaning that you can look at different pieces of your process and you'll be able to figure out, okay, where in this process did I go wrong? What went wrong? What went right? And then that way you can do what you did wrong better, and you can do what you did right even better, or you can keep it going. So if you just shoot from the hip every time, you won't be able to do this. You're going to make mistakes, and you're not going to know which mistakes you made, which is how you ultimately end up in failure, right? And so we must use systems, and we will teach you systems, but you need to also work on these systems, develop them, and customize them for yourself, right? Make them work for you. Everything can be improved upon. As flippers, we know that, right? That's the whole thesis. That's the whole reason we're here, right? We know that we can make things better, make them more valuable. So you should even be taking what I'm teaching you, taking what we teach you in our course, and making it better, right? And so, right, okay, so now you're saying, okay, yeah, Alex, thanks for preaching, right? But what's the formula? Okay, so the formula today is going to be ARV. Sorry, that's not where we want to start. We want to start with the number we all want, right? Profit. Boom, profit equals ARV minus PP minus RC minus CC. So that's after resale value, purchase price, renovation costs, carry costs. Excuse me. Little sneeze coming on. No, it went away. Okay, so ARV is after resale value. So this is how much we think the home will be worth after it's been renovated. And so the way you're going to figure that number out is you're going to use comps, right? Comparable houses that have sold in the area in the last 6 to 12 months. Really, in this market, you should be doing 6 months. And so you want to look for similar houses in about a half-mile radius with similar footprint. You can estimate what the house sold for. You can see what the houses sold for, and then you can use that to estimate what your house will sell for. You can also talk with a realtor. They'll be happy to give you an estimate. Just be careful. They have a tendency to overestimate things, right? Because that way, if you think your house is going to sell for a lot of money, maybe you'll work with them, right? So just be careful of that. And so we actually also will give you a template in the Flip School where you can just plug in some numbers and it will spit out the ARV for you. Makes it real easy and makes sure you know that you're getting what you want to be getting, right? And so, PP equals purchase price. This is really straightforward, obviously, but we will circle back to that at the end. RC equals renovation costs. And you got to pardon my awful handwriting. If I write neat, it goes way too slow. So you guys are just going to have to deal with that. Renovation costs. And so renovation costs, again, we're going to estimate based on what work needs to be done. And two things to really you need to include in this that some people don't include. You need to make sure to add a contingency, first of all, right? So 10, 20%, probably 10% is a good number of, just wiggle room in your budget because you don't know if stuff's going to go over, going to cost you more. And please, 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 make sure that you count the cost of materials, especially with the lumber prices, right? How crazy has it been, how those have been up? But those types of things you need to take into account. We actually had, we worked with somebody recently who did not include somehow material costs, and his profit is basically going to be zero on the deal. He didn't take the course. He came in as a rescue, a little sad little puppy dog. Said, "Alex, please, can you help me?" And so we're helping him. And luckily we were actually, and so his issue, one of his issues was he didn't count materials cost. And so we were luckily able to salvage that for him, and he'll make money on the deal. But if he was with us beforehand, he would have known not to make that bonehead move. Okay, and then CC is carrying costs. Other people might call it something different, but carrying costs is your realtor fees, interest on your financing, and other miscellaneous items like title fees. These stuff can add up, especially if you're using hard money lenders. So you must include it in your budget, right? That is 100% part of what factors into the profitability. Okay, so I think these are relatively easy to remember, so I'm going to erase them and just put an example up of how this all looks when you put it all together, right? So let's just say you have a house listed for $150K, right? And you've estimated that you need to get $50K of renovations. Well, let's format it the way that it's written up here, right? So we estimated that it was $350K ARV. It was a $150 purchase price. It was $50 in renovations, and we're just going to estimate that our carrying cost is, I don't know, can you guys see that? Let me just make sure you guys can see that. You guys cannot see that. So luckily there wasn't anything too valuable over here, but now you guys can actually see this. But so the purchase price was $350, or sorry, the ARV is $350, purchase price $150, renovation cost $50. We're going to estimate that the carrying costs are going to be 10% of this, right? So that's $20K. And so our profit, $350 minus $150 minus 50 minus 20. What is that? That's 130. 130K profit, and that divided by 220, right? That's our total investment equals 60% profit. So that's pretty good on a flip, right? That's definitely realistic, but that's a great return. A good rule of thumb is to aim for this profit number to be 30% as a minimum. That minimum is going to give you that room for error, right? You're building contingencies into your budget, but you're also building contingencies in on the back end, because if it takes longer than you estimated, carrying costs are higher, the market moves against you, the lumber prices triple, you'll be in a good position. And so, okay, so what happens if we get in a situation where this profit is less than 30%, right? You find a deal you really love, and you know, you think it makes sense, but it just isn't. It's not. The numbers aren't exactly working, right? So you have three levers. You have ARV, purchase price, and renovation costs. Purchase price is going to be your best lever, right? The lower the purchase price, the more money you make. It's very simple. So, and then in general, you should always ask to pay less, whether it's on the purchase price or it's on fees, carrying costs, interest, realtor fees, whatever. It'll be a little bit uncomfortable at first, but if you'll get more comfortable asking to pay less eventually. And not only that, you'll make more money, and it's also just good. Like we said in some of our earlier videos, action cures fear. That's a great action you can get over those types of fears. Okay, and then so ARV and renovation costs are the second and third lever. They're a little bit intertwined, right? So starting with renovation costs, what you can do is you can reduce your renovation costs, tone back the renovation, and focus only on the highest ROI projects. And so the flip side is that might lower your ARV, but that's something you'll have to do with the comps. Or you can, increase your renovation budget, add a bunch of value, put a bunch of value adds in there, like a deck or more square footage, for instance, and then but you got to make sure again that the juice is worth the squeeze, right? So you're going to use the same methods that you did to evaluate the ARV of the whole house, looking at comps, looking at what they sold for, and you're going to use that to evaluate that. Okay, and so that covers the ultimate flip formula. This is the type of stuff you guys need to be doing to make sure your deals are profitable. So now I'm going to go around to the other side of the camera, and if you guys have any questions, ask me and I will answer them. Okay. Do we have anybody on? It says 4 people are on, but I'm not seeing any questions. All right. I haven't gotten any questions. Somebody just joined. I'm not sure. You kind of missed the whole thing. Unfortunately, I don't go super long on these. I'm a fast talker. If you have a question, feel free to ask it. It's all right, Christina. You missed the whole thing. So I'm going to put the recording up. Don't worry. But the basic fundamentals are that you want to, Becky, I'll answer your question in a second. So you want to look at how much you think the price of the house will be, and then subtract out all the different costs. We walk through all those different costs, how to estimate them, all those things. So just make sure you watch the replay. Becky, what's your question? I'm ready. Also, Christina and Becky, I'm not sure if you guys are in our Facebook group, but we do have a Facebook group where you guys can ask me all these sorts of questions. It's called House Flipping University. How do you determine your renovation costs? So that's going to be something that is completely dependent on the house, right? So if you go into a house and it just needs a cosmetic job, obviously that's going to be a lot less of a renovation cost than something that needs like a complete overhaul, like a new roof, for instance. Like we just looked at a property today that needed an entirely new roof, and it was a 16-bed multifamily. It was going to cost $52K. I got a quote for $52K on the roof. So that's, that can be totally different from a single family home. So it depends on everything. It seems like everything moves so fast. Everything does move really fast, but that's why it's extra important to understand this type of stuff, right? Because what can happen, and actually what happened to the guy I referenced on the thing, is he got caught up in chasing a deal, and he actually paid over list price, and that ate into his profit. Bella, a good interest rate on hard money, private money loan, it's going to depend on the deal, and it's going to depend on your credit history, but you're looking at like 8 to 12%. Cost per square foot, again, that's going to completely vary based on the location. Where I am, your location is going to be, or the price per square foot is $200 per square feet. So you're looking for a 30% lower than that plus renovation costs, right? I think sometimes it can take 4 to 6 months, depending on the work you do and depending on how much stuff you do it, right? So Craig, my partner, he likes to do almost everything himself. And so when he's not doing it himself, it can go much quicker. But when he does do it himself, it takes a little bit longer. Christina, thank you. Welcome to the group. It seems like when a deal comes up, how do you have time to look at the property price and the reno? I think it's one of those things where you're going to get a better sense of how much things cost as you do this more and more. But the truth of the matter is that houses that are moving super quickly probably aren't really that good of flip candidates anyway, right? So you're more likely looking for houses that need a little bit of work, and usually those don't go as fast. Does that make sense, Becky? Scrolling up to make sure I didn't miss any questions. So awesome, Becky. And again, I don't know if you're in the group, but we also have that group, House Flipping University. You're welcome to join. My partner Craig and I were in there every day answering questions, posting a lot of stuff. And that's eventually these lives are only going to be within that group. So if you want to keep seeing this type of stuff, join that. And also, I like to do impersonations of Steve Irwin because I love Steve Irwin. And so if you want to see those types of videos, those are, I think they're hilarious. Obviously, I don't know if anybody else does, but, they're in there. And so unless anybody has any more questions, I will wait 30 more seconds for another question, and then I'll log off and hope you guys have a great night. All right, everybody, have a great night.